You're listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast series that syndicates for the A-List Online, and my name is Andrew Mackay-Smith. The interview subject that I have coming up for your listening pleasure, it's Henrik Thrane from the Danish outfit Black Income. Now, the reason for the conversation is to promote the outfit's new album for 2019. It was released on the 23rd of August. It's called Unsound, and by my estimation, as you'll hear through the conversation, I'm thrilled with it. I think it's one of the best rock albums released in 20 or so odd years, longer probably. I'm actually going to break with convention on that note. I actually am going to play a cut from the album with Henrik's permission on the podcast, because I know sometimes when you're listening to an artist and I can't play the music, it can be hard to visualize or oralize, is that the way to describe it, what the music sounds like. So I don't want to do that here. I actually want to prove how great this band is by playing one of their songs before we get to the interview. This is a cut called Feels Like a Storm. It's playing in the background right now, of course. Once that finishes, you'll hear the conversation with Henrik.
There you go, all alone again, feeling hollow, don't know why. In the shadows, you hide within the search for yourself, while the pale blackness wash you away. Every day feels like a storm. The heart's racing, here it comes. Here it comes. Your bruised mind doesn't hurt no more. The stains won't come off as you try to wash them away. In the morning, the sun sets so low, you can't get anything to be together no more. Every day feels like a storm. Your heart's racing, you feel numb. Every day feels like a storm. Your heart's racing, here it comes. Every day feels like a storm. Your heart's racing, you feel Here it comes, here it comes.
Hello. I'm great. Don't know what happened.
Oh, look, it's the wonders of omnipresent telephonic
Yes, it is.
international communications, mate. What can I say? But look, it's really good to talk to you, mate. Let me tell you, I
Yeah.
rate this album so highly.
Thank you so much.
You know,
Great.
I don't
We
know where to start, man. You've
we
produced.
get a love from we get a lot of love from down there.
I'm
So
glad. Yeah,
you're
well, we love
yeah.
rock music. Yeah, have you spoken to a lot of Australian journalists?
No, but we had a couple of written interviews, but not the radios.
Hmm. Well, look, let me tell
So
you. I've got to tell you, Henrik.
hmm?
I say this from the heart. Okay, so yes, I might be a journalist, but I'm also a fan. I'm a rock and roll and heavy metal fan.
Oh,
And
great.
first and foremost, so I'm going to back this statement up, but I actually think this is the best rock music album, heavy metal backslash rock music album, in about 25 odd years. Okay, so let me tell you what I'm coming
Holy
from.
shit.
Okay, so here we go. Okay,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so Unsound, it's the meeting point between Nirvana, Alice in Chains, Soul Asylum, Sponge, early Silverchair, Guns N' Roses, Stone Temple Pilots. But it's more than that, you know that. It's all of that,
Yeah.
plus it's far more. Okay, it's the coalescence of rock music's greatest hits from the past 30 odd years. So basically, since about 1989 or so. So you take into
Yeah.
account everything that's happened since 1990 through the new millennium and also after 2010 or so. And for me to say that it's the best rock album since Weezer's Pinkerton from 1996, wow,
Yeah. Oh
that's
shit.
if you know me, that's I can't give a bigger statement, man, to a band. So
No, no,
I'll leave it
no.
at that, and I'll hand over to you, man. I don't know how you guys have done it, to be honest with you. I'm sure you're a smart bloke. I mean, we've only just meeting now over Skype for the first time, but man, you've really produced a hell of a rock and roll album here.
Thank you so much. Well, I'm actually speechless, but well, it took us some time because we started out with the first album, Noise Pollution,
Okay.
and we weren't quite there, and it took us about 3 years to come to a point where we thought, hey, this is what Black Income is going to sound like in the future. So with the new album on Sound, yeah, you can roughly say we've found ourselves on this album. So
Well, you've done
so
more
I'm,
than that, though. You've actually done a bit more than that, though. You've redefined rock music for 2019. And I've got to be frank here, that's how I'm hearing it. Because,
yeah,
I
yes,
mean, the first three songs, Did You Know, Feels Like a Storm, and Loaded Gun. Now, Feels Like a Storm is probably the best straight ahead rock song since Guns N'
hmm,
Roses' You Could Be Mine. I mean, it's that good. It is
okay,
seriously that
okay,
good. It's the sort of song that I find myself wanting to listen to all the time, but I have to stop myself because I don't want to wear it out. It's that good, and and
okay,
and it's one of those very very rare songs, as is the whole album, where it sounds good whether or not you listen to it with headphones on or over the shitty speakers that are in iPhone or Android devices. And you know what I'm saying?
yes,
Like,
yeah,
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 sure, you've done a really good job with the production, but you can't polish a turd. You have to have the songs there. You guys have got the songs there. And
yeah,
I get sent so much stuff. I can't tell you how much stuff I get sent. And I actually do listen to it all. Some of it very quickly.
yes,
Some of it I listen to for like 10 seconds and I go, I'm done. I don't want to listen to this anymore. It's noisy or it's bad or what have you. But as soon as
yeah,
I heard your stuff, you've managed to do this thing where you can get it straight away. Like it's very immediate, but at the same time, it's got hooks. So you want to keep on listening
hmm,
to it. So it's kind of got this pop music angle to it, but at the same time,
yes,
you've got this genuine rock and roll raw attitude. You know, you're a bit like. Do you remember? I don't know whether you remember the band Neurotic Outsiders that had Steve Jones from Sex Pistols and Duff McKagan from Guns N' Roses
oh,
in
yo,
it.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, you guys remind me of them a little bit. You know that like
okay,
it's raw, it's immediate, it's bang, it's right there. But their album, I can't remember the name of it now. Sorry, but it wasn't that good. It had a couple of
no,
really good songs on it. Yours is a really good album. Like I can listen to it all
thank
the
you.
time. You know, so I mean I've heaped a lot of praise on you, man, but I think you deserve it.
Yeah, thank you so much. Well, it's always uh, quite thrilling when you are sending out an album. You go in the studio and you work with your songs and
Mm,
and stuff like that. And when you release it, now there's no turning back, and and that's maybe one of the reasons why we spent 3 years on this album, because we didn't want it to just come out with the first debut album, and we had some pretty nice reviews on that one, and we see many bands go straight through with the second album, and sometimes the second album fall between the chairs and are not that good. We really wanted to how should I express it? We wanted to do the full package. We wanted to have the good melodies, the good songs. We wanted to have the kind of rough riffs and the stoned kind of grungy feeling we're working with, and we also did a lot in the studio ourselves with the sound, because with the metal and rock music today, we think it's too pumped, and the listener get tired of listening to it.
Yes, spot on.
So we tried to soften it a bit, but still leave it as a rock band. Looking back at the 90s and the 80s, for that matter, that's the kind of sound we were looking for. So
I can hear that, because I'm 41, so I grew up through the late 80s and 90s, all of the 90s, of course, and I feel like I was transported back to 1995, like when Faith No More released King for a Day, Fool for a Lifetime, and Weezer had their self-titled album and were about to release Pinkerton in 1996. It's not an album from back then, of course, but I feel like I'm back then when I'm listening to it, and I feel like I'm 18 and 19 again, and I have to say, I don't know how you've done
That's
it.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, you've done it, man. You've actually done it. And so many bands try for it. And I'm so glad you say that you wanted to give the music space to breathe, because it's a big issue that I have with a lot of these great musicians that are in deathcore and metalcore bands and death metal bands, all of the metal, whatever subgenre bands they might be.
Yeah.
They're great musicians and they can write songs, but they bury it underneath this shit production like what Metallica did. And
exactly.
I listened to it and I think I'd like, even Bayarda's Murder, an Australian band here, you've probably heard of them, like, great band, great musicians. I've seen them live, man, they're crushing. But I can't listen to their albums for more than 15 minutes at a time. And I get all of this stuff sent to me, so I try. Believe me, I do try. But I can't do it because it just sounds like oral overload. But with your music, I can hear the bass, because I'm a bassist, so I tune in on what the bass does. Yeah. Man, and the drumming's fucking outstanding. Let me tell you, like, the drumming is... it's slightly behind the beat, and it just gives the music that room to breathe, like what I was saying. And you just all three of you guys together work in perfect harmony. And I hope you've gotten this feedback before, because I am a musician, but I'm also a journalist. But I hope other people have given you this feedback, because I think it's really important, because I want people like you to continue to create music well beyond Unsound. You know what I mean? I hope this is just a start for bigger things for you.
Actually, we didn't get in-depth feedback like you're giving us right now, and all of the bands you mentioned earlier, that they are my favorite kind of bands from the 90s and stuff like that. And we all grew up in the 90s listening to the grunge music, and how the metal scene were converged into the 90s and what happened in the 2000s and stuff like that. But a lot of people, when they listen to us, we just get the 90s sticker on us and say, hey, that's a grunge band. But we think ourselves we are a bit more than just a grunge band, because we have some elements from different kind of music, and we try to put it all together in some kind of cocktail, and trying to really work on, try to drill down to what is it with Nirvana, what is it with the Stone Temple Pilots, and what is it with the Iron Maiden, and what is it that makes the music so special, and trying to find that in ourselves when we work in the studio, and that's the hardest part, I think, because the songs are pretty much me who writes the ideas for the songs. Yeah. I have lots of ideas, but trying to put it together in the studio and trying to find out what is going to take for instance, Feels Like a Storm. What is it with this song that can make this happen? What is it that can make this song the strongest? and that's the elements we are looking for in our songwriting. So it's actually quite nice to get some feedback from one who has listened to our record.
Yeah, the first three songs, man, are essential listening. Mate, I'd go so far as to say if you're a rock or heavy metal fan or heavy metal fan in 2019, and the first
Yeah.
three songs on the album don't do something with you, you're not a rock or heavy metal fan. It's that simple. Because to your point there about Iron Maiden, I was going to make the point that, and I will do it now. You sound to me
Yeah.
like a heavy metal band, like an Iron Maiden, playing
Yes.
alternative music. Like, you're very good musicians. I can hear that. I can hear that you're holding back. You're not overplaying. You've learnt restraint. Do you understand what I'm
Yes.
saying? You've learnt restraint.
Yes, exactly.
And you're putting that. It's working, man. It's working. But so many try, but they're shit at it. You're good at it. And I don't know
thank
how
you.
you've done it. It's just obviously something that's in you. And I've been looking for an album like this, man, for a very long time, brother. Let me tell you. And I heard it, and I thought when Jade reached out and said there's an opportunity to have a chat, I was like, man, I'm taking this because I want to understand what's going on here. You know, so you write the songs and you give it to the other guys in the band in the studio,
Yes.
or do you do everything pre-production?
Yeah, we do it in a pre-production phase first, but usually it's me writing up some idea, and I play it for the guys, and they typically rip their ideas to 1,000 pieces, but we go into the studio with a pre-production of all the songs, and in the studio, sometimes when you record the songs and you're in your rehearsal room and you think this is going to happen, when you record it, then there is the song sometimes falls apart or misses something, yeah. So that's the way we usually do it. Some songs just write itself at the spot. We're starting with a riff or an idea for a chorus or like that, and we just go with it, because I think when you create music, it's as a musician, you think your own songs become dull as you play them 10 or 20 times, and then musicians tend to create a lot of stuff that the listeners don't understand, in my opinion. So for me, it's about staying in the flow and what got you hooked on your own song to begin with, and we always take and record it in when we rehearse. When we have a idea, we go with the first take, and we sort of put this into a case, saying this with the first take, and then we work like on the song for 3 or 4 hours,
Okay.
and then we have a whole different song, and then we take the first recording and hold these two together, and because it's so important to stay in the flow when you're writing songs, in my opinion.
No, I agree totally.
So-
but how? Sorry, you go, mate. I won't interrupt. You go.
No. I think I'm finished.
Oh, it's. How did you find two people though that were willing to help you realize your vision? Because I've been in heaps of bands, man, and they're fucking hard to be in, to be frank. And
Yeah.
you're always on the basis, so I'm generally following what the leader is doing, and I'm happy to do that because it's not my band. I turn up and I play and I do not necessarily what I'm told in that. My philosophy is, okay, there's a leader, and I'm helping the leader realize their vision. That's always been mine. But I've been a band leader before, and even with bands that I've been in where I could pay people turn up and they complain and they whinge and they bitch and they moan. How did you find these guys? How did you find, Lars and Michael to help you realize this vision?
Yeah, well, me and Michael goes way back, because we started out when we were kids, playing with you probably know the guitarist Søren Andersen from Denmark also.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and we had a band when we were teenagers, and Michael and Søren, they moved to Copenhagen, and I stayed in Fredericia, quite 200 kilometers between the cities, so it's not that far. But when we recorded the first album, we had another bassist on Noise Pollution, but we felt it wasn't quite what we were looking for. So me and Lars, we had a couple of bands before we started Black Income. So when we came out of the first tour, we decided to do a more organic kind of metal and rock. And I called up Michael and say, "Hey, Michael, you're the guy for this. So
Yeah.
I would love for you to come play with our band."
Yeah, he's definitely the guy for it. Yeah, the bass lines are fantastic,
Yes.
man. I listened to that with headphones many times.
Yes.
And mate, he's actually playing a different rhythm and melody than what you're doing.
Yes, yes,
And
he is.
I heard that, It was brilliant.
Yes, he is an excellent bass player and actually a good singer also. And you need to, if you're a bass player, you need to check out his solo. He has a band called Superfuss.
Super fast.
Has a couple of albums out. Yeah,
All
he
right.
actually won a Grammy once.
A Danish Grammy or a US Grammy?
Yeah, well, a Danish Grammy, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know, but
I'll check it out,
he's the only Grammy winner I know.
There you go.
So
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, so check out his band, because if you're a bass player, you would love it.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, we'll do. Yeah, I listened to it, and it was one of those things where another thing about the album is, and I'm sure this is true about the band in general, but you could isolate. So there's the vocals, there's the guitars, there's the bass and the drums, and I'm sure there's other things that you put in there too, but they're the four key elements. And what I
Yes.
found was I can do this quite easily as a musician. I hone in on what the individual musician is doing, and I say, is it
Yeah.
musical? And it's more than musical with you guys. I find you can isolate the tracks. So let's just stick with Michael. I found that I could listen to his bass line, and it was a melody unto itself. Like I could actually
Yes.
stay interested. So he's from that, Bob Daisley, the great Australian bass player who
Yeah,
wrote all the
yeah,
songs
yeah.
for Ozzy. It was like him, and that's the first time I've heard it. I'm sure there are others out there, as I say, but it's the first time I've really heard it, and I was like, "Shit, listen to that! Here he goes!" And so you write these great songs, and you've got these great musicians around you, and it's just so rare to hear that, man. I mean, it's as I say, man, it's the first time I've really heard it since Matt Sharp was in Weezer back in 1996. It's been that long. It's been that long.
It's fantastic.
You know.
Well, I think we are on the same level, and we have played with a lot of stars being backing musicians for.
Yeah, with like Mike
For a
Tramp.
lot.
Like you've done Mike with
Yeah.
White Line and Mike Tramp and stuff. I can see that. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So we are used to playing music, and we have seen the ups and the downs, and what we talked about when we started writing for On Sound, we talked about it. This should not be a record that presents each musician individual. We should find the key to where we lock together as a band, and it's the band that's going to sound good. It's not what I'm playing or I'm singing or Michael what he's playing or what Lars are doing on the drums, but this needs to fit together as a one-piece band, and that was the whole idea with the new album. So I'm very glad that you hear the things you hear, because that's a big part of what we were going for. But not many of the reviewers and people we talked to had caught that in our music. They just think we are a grunge band or a stoner band or something like that.
Yeah, they're not musicians, so they don't get it. Yeah, I get it. I mean, you're sort of on level with King's X in that you're all great musicians, and collectively you're better because you're together.
Yeah.
And that's really rare.
We love King's X.
Yeah, and
Actually, we were out having a beer with Doug when he was in Denmark last time. So,
mate, Doug,
because Michael is a very, very big fan of Doug Pinning. So
he's the one guy I haven't interviewed that I want to interview. Let me tell you, I've had a few near misses, meaning that I've had a few people say that they can hook me up, and I'm sure they're legitimate, but just Doug's a busy guy, so he might not see the email or what have you. But I've loved King's X ever since I heard Dogman back in '93 or whenever that was released, and Dogman to me is one of the greatest albums ever recorded. It's in my top 10 ever, and
Yes,
and
I totally agree.
Oh, jeez, I mean, what's your favourite song off that album there?
On the top of my head, I can't remember the title, but I can remember song number. I think it's number 2. It's not Dogman. It's a great track, but the track
Shoes. The song called Shoes. Yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
Yes,
Shoes. Yeah, there can be but better ways for me. That one. Yeah, the
exactly.
Intro. Yeah.
It has this rough kind of, still bluesy, groovy kind of rhythm going, and I just love it. And there was a track called Cigarettes. I think it was kind of cool.
Thank you. That's actually one of my favourite songs ever, Cigarettes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I listened to that. That's the one song, and I was just talking about this the other night to a fella from a band called Ragdoll here in Australia. When that song comes on, I stop what I'm doing and I listen to it. It's one of those songs.
Yes.
It affects you.
It's a wonderful song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Exactly.
It's brilliant. Yeah, it's well, I mean, this is interesting, isn't it? Because I often find that the musicians whose music I love, we often love the same music ourselves. And
yeah.
that symbiosis often occurs, doesn't it? And I love the fact that, of course, I'm in Australia and you're in Denmark, and we can sort of be influenced by the same things. I know it's a global economy these days, so there's hardly any local scenes these days.
That's the wonderful thing with music. It's not a language. It's more like a feeling or a state of mind. And when you find someone you have something in common with, you have a lot to talk about. Yeah. And music does that to people, I think.
That's correct.
I often think of there are so many videos and so many pictures, and often when you see pictures in the TV, there's some music behind this. Come to a day where all music were gone or deleted. You would just have the pictures and the videos, and that's not the same without the music.
No, that's
behind.
right.
So music is adding something to the whole scene, I think.
A cultural zeitgeist, yeah. Hey, let me ask you this question: does K's Choice? They're from Denmark, aren't they?
Case Choice.
Were they from Denmark?
Oh, it's an old band.
Yeah,
I think so.
I think so. I saw them here in Australia once, and they were fantastic. Yeah, I don't know too many other bands from Denmark, to be honest with you. I know, of course, Lars Ulrich originally comes from Denmark, but apart from that, you guys are about the most prominent Danish rock or metal band that I'm aware of, and I'm sure there are a ton out there. I'm just not aware of them. But
yes,
when I was just thinking, and I should have Googled it before we had the conversation, but K's Choice, man, they were a fantastic band back in the day, and they've got that same grit that you guys have got. So I was wondering if it was a Danish thing to sort of distill the essence of all these great rock and heavy metal bands and pool them all together.
Yeah, I was sure. Case Choice was a great band, but there is a lot of great music going on in Denmark. Not only rock and metal. The rock and metal scene is actually quite small in Denmark. And,
is that right?
Yeah. And there's a lot of bands, but there is only about 10 or 15 bands that are allowed through the noise and onto the media. So with our new record, we're sort of blacklisted in the Danish.
Is that right? Why is that?
PR. Yeah, I don't know, because maybe we're too 90s, or maybe we're too stoned, or maybe I don't know. But we left our our debut album was out on Mighty Music, but we didn't feel that we wanted to send another album out on that label. Because we thought we would try this ourselves with Stupid Music, and maybe it has something with that to do with that. I don't know, but it's quite strange that everybody outside Denmark is very interested in Black Income, but Denmark itself are not that interested at the moment. But things can turn around. Yeah,
that happens to a lot of Australian bands too in Australia, that they get big outside of Australia before they become big in Australia, and it's really weird. that happens. It must be.
Yes.
I tell you something I've always noticed, and I go to uni these days, and I'm not at uni with too many Danish students, but there are a few there because we're a bit of a destination in Australia, so we get people from all over the globe coming here, and I've always noticed that Australians and Scandinavians get along. I don't know whether
Yeah.
you've noticed that, but it's a symbiosis and we can all be from different walks of life. And I mean, just about everybody that I've ever met from except for yourself, of course,
Yeah.
Denmark and of course Scandinavia, the greater Scandinavia, Norway, Sweden, or Denmark that I've met at uni. They're not into heavy metal, but they're really cool people, and I've noticed we get along.
Yes.
Is that something that you've noticed about Australians as well?
Yes, actually, I met a couple of Australian guys, and we always get along. So maybe you drifted too far away from Denmark and Sweden and Norway. Some
Maybe.
funny, yeah, maybe. I don't know because yes, actually, also when I talk to you now, we get along pretty nicely, and
Easily, yeah.
yeah, but I don't know what the symbiosis is, but I know a few Danish bands who have been touring in Australia, and they come back and say, "Hey, they're awesome people down there. Go there, man," and we will sometime.
I hope so.
But,
Yeah, that's a good question. Actually, are there plans afoot if not Australia? I mean, are you going to go across the Atlantic there and go to the States? Because I'd imagine you guys would create a real ruckus over there.
yes, we get a lot of love from the States also, but at the moment we are focused on Germany and the UK. And I think we will start out. We only live about 100 kilometers from the border to Germany. So
Okay.
so why border playing or bother playing in Denmark if the Germans are on it? So we will go there on some smaller tours, and we are planning a bigger tour for the UK. And actually, we were talking yesterday about the USA, but I don't know yet.
Yeah,
how
it's a
this
tough market.
is going
It
to
costs
play
a lot
out.
of money, and it costs a lot of money to go
Yeah.
over there. Danish or Australian bands, it's the same issues in so far as
Yeah.
you've got to get the right visa applications, and then you've got to trust
Exactly.
promoters that they're not going to rip you off, etc., etc. And then there's got to be people out there that are going to buy tickets because they've heard of you and all the rest of it. It's a real shame. I mean, this is the one negative about not having record companies these days, is that nobody can foot the bill for these tours. And I get that.
Yeah.
I get that in the past it was only an advance and you had to pay it back, but it still gave you the opportunity to go to far-flung places and spread the word and share your music. And these days you can't really do that because it's really a business when you're an independent band like what you guys are, and you've really got to everything's got to make sense from a business perspective before you go ahead and do it. And man, I have this conversation too often, to be honest with you, but it's a worthy conversation insofar as
Yes.
how do we get more people to find out about Black Income? Because it's worth it. I mean, this is life-affirming music here. This is music that, in my view, is probably going to save people's lives. So how do we do this?
I actually don't know, because we are struggling with the social media and all the algorithms and stuff like
yeah.
that, and we're wanting you to pay a lot of money to get your posts out there. But
Yeah.
what we came to when we talked to our manager last time, it was we need to go out, play some live gigs. I still believe that music is meant to be heard live, and
Agreed.
although there must the first time you play a venue in another country, you need to play some support gig for one or two other bands, because there is no one going to listen to just Black Income when we come to some place we never have been before.
Yep.
So I think our new way of trying to conquer the world is by playing some more live gigs, and try to play with some bands that have the same kind of genre as we do. So we played for some black metal, some warm up in Germany on the last tour. And,
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah,
that one.
it was a
Yeah.
different kind of people there, and it's not that you don't gain that much from that audience.
Is that right?
You
Yeah.
need-
Okay. Yeah. Okay. 'Cause that's a really interesting point, because I was going to ask you, Volbeat are a massive band these days. I get that, and I'm pretty sure they're from Denmark, aren't they?
Yeah,
Originally,
yeah.
Volbeat. I mean, but then I thought, Volbeat would be a great addition for you guys if you guys got. I mean, I actually think you're a better band, to be honest with you. So, God, don't spread that too quietly,
Thank you.
too loudly. But
No,
I
no.
think you're much better, to be honest. Much better songs and better musicians. But sorry, I'm just talking about how I feel about things. But it's
That's great.
but I think that's a really important point you make about black metal and I'll say death metal bands and metalcore bands as well. Is that I predominantly interview bands from extreme metal, so death metal, black metal, whatever metal, all of the different types of metal.
Yeah.
And you guys are the sort of rock music that I think could actually compete with the Immortals and the Dimmu Borgirs and the Morbid Angels of the world. I actually think the fans of those bands could easily get into you because I'm a fan of those bands myself. And I really get into you guys, as you can tell. So there's an opportunity there, I think, but it's just how to make it work, And so I'll sort of go back onto the point and I'll say, Volbeat sort of seemed to come from nowhere as far as I was concerned. Were they a band that was around for a while in Denmark and then blew up? Or what's your take on the Volbeat thing?
The Volbeat thing, they were actually, their first 2 albums, I think, were on the same label as we released our debut album, Mighty Music. And I think it was something with the tour. The first tour they did with Metallica really kicked it off for Volbeat, because the guys, the front singer Michael, was in some thrash or black metal band before, but they couldn't really get anywhere with it. So they started Volbeat instead, and went on the tour with Metallica, and didn't earn a dime, as the story goes here. But surely they sound a lot like Metallica, and the fans they have been playing for is easy to adopt to Volbeat when they like Metallica, I think. So they gained a lot of PR of that tour, and that's what's really kicked off Volbeat, I think. So we need to do some kind of tour, because as you're saying, well, how do I find someone that likes music similar to Black Income? How can I do that? I don't know. I can be in some blogs or radios and interviews and stuff like that, but to really get people to click on your music and listen to your music, that's the hard part.
Yeah, to spend time listening to an album these days, it requires an investment of time. And yes. I think a lot of the people who are underneath the age of 30 have grown up not listening to albums. They've grown up with social media, and they've grown up with the Spotify equivalents, MySpace, whatever it's, it started with MySpace and it's torrenting and all the rest of it. So they're not listening to albums, they're listening to individual songs and playlists and all this bullshit. But I think that and so that's why they're only listening to fucking Metallica's Creeping Death, and then the next song is Symphony of Destruction by Megadeth. They're not investing in a Black Income or so many of the other great bands, or Sifting, Eduardo from Sifting, who I interviewed this morning. They're not investing in you guys, and it shits me because you guys, to be honest, man, I mean, without getting paid for playing music, you're probably only going to go for another 5 to 10 years max, and then you go back to a day job or what have you. And this is I can't, me personally, my opinion, and I know you've not asked for it, but I'll share it anyway. Can't stand Metallica and Slipknot. Can't stand that shit. I don't understand it. I don't understand why. I'm in my 40s, so I'm probably beyond it, and I'm trying not to sound like the old man on my porch with my shotgun, but I get a bit tired of fans investing all this time in the new Metallica album, which is shit, to be honest with you. Hardwired to Self-Destruct is a deplorable album. Compared to yours, it's a piece of shit. It's a steaming pile of dog shit. But all these fans, they love it. They go and buy the vinyl version and the CD version. If there's a tape version, they'll buy that. And it's like, what is it about this music played by... Like, Lars can barely drum anymore. He can barely keep time, and that's not being critical. No. When I watched him here in Brisbane, and I've told Lee Harrison from Monstrosity this story and Terrorizer this story, there was on one occasion, James got so frustrated, he turned to him and he said, at least 3 of us finished on time, and stared at Lars. Like, that happened, and
That's funny.
and I don't think he was joking either. You know what I mean? I don't think he
Oh.
said it like tongue in cheek or anything like that. He had the shits because Lars is dragging the beat, and I could hear that he was doing it. But and I think, well, all these rusted on fans to these established bands who no longer have any value to add, as far as I'm concerned. And then you guys come along with this absolute instant classic in Unsound, and I don't know how many years it's going to reach. And it's one of those situations where, with the internet, with it being so noisy, with all of these bands on there all saying, "Look at me, look at me, look at me," but the quality isn't there for 95% of them. It just isn't there. You've got it.
You're totally right.
Yeah, and you've got
Thank
it.
you.
Yeah, and it's
Well,
like,
I actually I saw a documentary on Metallica writing some new songs in the studio. They used about 11 months or so, but they haven't got any ideas. So they just start with nothing in the studio and jam on some things. And looking at all that merchandise and the way they sell themselves today, I think they are more like a brand than they are a band. Actually, I think all of their fans, they buy their stuff, their T-shirts, their caps, and all of that, and I think they make millions on these things.
yeah,
And
they're-
it's
they're a
not all
corporation.
about the music anymore.
Yeah.
It's more about liking the brand Metallica.
Yeah,
for
they're
that
doing
matter.
this. They're doing, like, I follow them on social media, and some of the
Yeah.
pictures I see, they're standing next, and I'm sure they're doing this with, like, it's righteous what they're doing. Like, they've set up a Metallica Foundation, and they're giving checks to people in the Czech Republic. Like, have you seen them standing there with these enormous checks? So
Yeah.
I'm going to leave Rob Trujillo out of this because I think he's a champion of a human being, and I love what he does. But the other three just seem to be locked into this groove, and they don't know how arrogant it looks. Do you understand? Like, if you're a philanthropist,
I totally understand.
my point is, if you're a philanthropist, you give money, and it doesn't matter whether you get recognition for it or not. You just don't. You don't show off about it. You just give the money, and you go, "I hope that helps," and I know you're a good organisation, and I know you're going to put the money to good ends. So
Yeah.
I don't need to virtue signal about this on social media. And it really annoys me because they're not helping, as far as I'm aware, correct me if you think I'm wrong, they're not helping emerging bands like yourself. They're not giving you the cosign. They're just
No, they're not.
they're taking out Lamb of God, for God's sakes, who barely need the fucking promotion.
Yes,
You know,
exactly. But I think it's some promotion or some record label or some manager behind the scenes that really that books all of these things, and for them to choose more established bands to play with Metallica, they can earn a lot of money there, I think. And there is not a lot of money for them to earn when they choose a band like Black Income, because we don't have any money at the moment. So it's kind of hard to get a shot like that. So so you need to go there. You need to pay to go there if you want out. So that's the whole point. I think it's money. Nothing more or less.
Oh, it's a business. We look.
It's
look,
sad.
We get it. We all understand that it's a business, and we recognise
Yes.
that, and we live in a capitalist society, and thank God we do, because otherwise we'd be living in a socialist environment, or in parts of Africa where it's lawless, and we don't want to do that because then it's chaos, and you can't raise families and all the rest of it. So, like, as you know, I mean, keeping everything in context, at least we can drink clean water, and we have food on our table, and don't have to worry about someone knocking on our door and having a families, something bad happening to our families, at night.
Yeah.
But I mean, keeping all of that in mind, it's still, the point is that my view on things is that these bands that are established have a responsibility, because they came up through an era where it was far easier to come up through because they had record label support. And I caught up with the Metal Church guys the other night. You know the band Metal Church?
Yeah.
Awesome guys. So cool.
Yes.
Let me tell you, Kurt and Mike and those guys are so cool. And I just wish all of the established bands could be like them.
Yes.
They're just such cool guys. And they recognise that they're fortunate to have what they've got with their careers, in that because they were a band back in the 80s, it was easy to come through, even though they got ripped off by record labels. And they might not even made a return on the albums that they released via major record labels back in the 80s. But because of the internet now, they have got a career because of the wonderful career that they could forge back in the 80s, and the fans reward them for it. Man, there was a room full of people in Brisbane watching them play, a band from Seattle, and it was incredible. Great band, as I say, man. Can't say enough nice things about those guys. And I even caught up with Kurt because I get along with Kurt really well, we exchange emails and chat, and I think, man, why can't more people in established bands be like Kurt? Why can't just be cool and help emerging bands out like you guys, who are playing great music? Because, man, you never know how the wheel is going to turn. In 20 years' time, you might be the new Metallica, and you will remember who helped you out.
Yeah. Well, if I knew it, I would tell you, but I don't know what it is with the whole music scene and why bands can't help each other out, because. I tried some while back with some smaller bands, and I said, hey, we all have like 2,000 likes on Facebook and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Why don't we share each other's videos out? When you come with a new video, we share it out, because I don't believe that when you catch up with a new band, you will take all your Black Income CDs and throw them out. You just say, hey, another band for my record or my playlist or something like that. But it's so hard to come by, because people think when they suppress other bands, they gain a little from it. But I think it's the other way around. We need to be more supportive of each other.
You're right. That's such a good thing that you say, man, that you did, and I admire that enormously, because even at my minuscule level as a musician, though, I find podcasting really easy, because the few podcasters like me that are around in Australia, we're really supportive of each other. Like Andy Dowling, we really do help each other out, and we have each other on each other's podcasts. And I'm going to reach out to some other people, and just in a podcasting world, because it's similar to being a musician. Because here's the thing, we're all originally musicians anyway, which is what inspires us to become podcasters. But I know what you're saying about being a musician. It's like other bands are so petrified of you getting an advantage over them because they helped you out, that they're not willing to help you out. And I never understood that, because it isn't like that at all. There's tales of litany of, like, even Celtic Frost and Destruction toured back in the day together and figured things out. Like bands that are seemingly at opposite ends of the musical spectrum can work together. But like, to your point, you've reached out to people and got a lukewarm response, and it's just, I guess it's just human nature. It's not even anything to do with the music industry. It's just human nature.
Yeah, maybe it's human nature, but I don't get it at all. But I have always been supportive of new bands, and I have a little studio where I record some stuff, and
cool.
I always help bands out, because that's the way music is supposed to be. We help each other. And when we go to a live concert and we are 3 bands, we help each other out. If anyone needs a cable or something, don't sweat it, take mine. And why can't we be supportive of different kinds of bands on the social media and stuff? Because I don't think that people who likes our page in Black Income, I don't think they necessarily just want to see Black Income on that page. They want to see similar bands as well, to get some new stuff. Yeah. So we are trying to build up a kind of, it's small for now, but we have a couple of bands we work together with that has the same idea on how we can help each other out on social media. So it starts small, but I think in time we will all gain from it. So, but I don't know why people think by helping other musicians that they some kind of hurt their own kind of music.
I don't know either, mate, but I've even noticed it here.
Seems stupid.
But it even happens in Brisbane here in the covers scene. You help other people out. Like, when I say covers scene, mate, we don't have fans. People are already there and we play. but because they've got like 400, 500 likes on their Facebook page and my band had 350, do you understand? So they're saying because they've got 450 Facebook likes on their page and my band might have 300, they think that they're more popular because they've got 150 more likes. And I looked at it and I was like, what are we... We're pissing in the wind here, all of us. Why don't we just help each other out to your exact point? So I understand the sentiment. I get what you're trying to do, and I don't know why more bands aren't willing to support each other when you're at that sub-indie level. I don't understand that, but all I can think is it says a lot about human nature because... But the other thing too, mate, is just keep this in mind. You guys are a very, very good band, so you're very threatening to people. You understand what I'm saying?
So we are threatening to other bands. Yeah.
Because they're shit. They're probably shit, dude. And you guys are playing and doing your thing and you've got this killer album, mate. And they're listening to it and they're like, oh, God, we're shit.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I haven't turned it around but because I didn't think of our album as how you describe it. So, maybe that could be something. I don't know, but... it's kind of sad that we are not able to help each other out on a smaller level, I think. But that's the way it is. Yeah. And nobody knows if Facebook is going to be around in 10 years. Maybe it's some kind of other social platform or so we can be wasting a lot of time putting ourselves out there at the moment. But I think it's Facebook and Instagram and Twitter is probably the best places to be as a band today. So
yeah, that's all you got. Twitter, not so much. I find I'm on Twitter a lot because I do a lot of sports journalism.
Yes,
and I write. You guys have got rugby in Denmark. I'm sure you've seen rugby in England and France and stuff. So I write a lot about rugby, and I mean Twitter's good for sports. I find. But not so much for music. Like, I don't find that I get so much engagement on that. Instagram and Facebook are still the number 1 and 2 or whatever, vice versa.
Yes.
For those for engagement with fans. But I just prefer Twitter. I just find it easier for some reason. I don't know. I guess it's just a personality thing. Apart from it being a bloody sewer of political opinion, which I don't pay any attention to.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, you said something earlier about the algorithms. I mean, the most powerful people in the world are the people that control the algorithms on social media.
Yes.
People think it's Trump
so.
and Vladimir Putin. It's not. It's the people that control the algorithms because they're controlling what you're reading and what you're watching.
Exactly. But they're also controlling the music that's getting on the bigger playlist with, for instance, Spotify and stuff like that. They are also algorithmic. So it's computers who are deciding if Black Income should be on a playlist or not. That sounds kind of stupid to me, but I think it's the end of the humankind when we leave it all to the machines. But
it is when we control them and we just let it set and forget. To your point there, you know, I mean, as I mentioned a few times, I'm back at uni and I'm actually a social media major, so I'm right on top of this stuff, and it's incredible. Like, the more you know, the more you realize you don't know, you know, and it's really incredible that way. Like, you think, you know, anybody that spends money boosting posts on Facebook, you might as well get however much money you spent on it. Say you spent 500 kroner or $500 or whatever, and just piss on it and flush it down the toilet because it's not going to work. You've got to advertise. That's the only way to do it. And even then, the point that I make with people who like the point that I would make with Mark Zuckerberg, if I got a 30-second conversation with him, is
James. Yeah.
If I was going to spend $1,000, how do you guarantee I get a return on my investment?
Exactly.
And you can't. That's the thing. So I'm basically just paying for him to buy another Bugatti.
Yes,
he's got one.
Exactly. and you don't have any guarantee that that Facebook is going to be around. No, they can shut it down, and you can do anything about it. So you can put a lot of money into ads, but no guarantees.
Well, man, I'll leave it there. And I don't know what to say to you, man, outside of, like, I think you're an incredible musician. I think you've written the album of not just your lifetime, but our lifetimes. I just really hope that people listening to this I mean, they're probably fans of mine and fans of yours already, so they're going to be right into it. But I hope they share, and I hope that they spread the gospel of black income because it's deserved, mate. You know, and you're it's just what you've done here, mate. Is I can't throw enough really nice words at you and superlatives at you to support what you're doing because I just really hope you continue to do what you're doing here because it's you get it and you've nailed it. So congratulations.
Thank you so much for the kind words. Yeah, I hope we can do album 3 that are just as good as number 2. So,
mate, it'll be a hell of an accomplishment if you can, because I'm not sure. The only problem with an album like Unsound is that it's going to be very hard to best.
Yes.
Not just for you, but for anybody else playing rock music these days. It's going to be really hard to do it. And so just take your time, man. Just do it when you're ready. You know, if you're not feeling inspired, don't do it. You know, don't. The thing that I want, the final point I make for you, mate, is that you've actually created a legacy here. So, in my view on this is in 50 years' time, people are going to pick up Unsound and go, this is a good band. So, and then they're going to dive into the rest of your catalogue long after maybe you've
hopefully,
shuffled off this mortal coil. You know, like your grandchildren will say, my granddad, you know, in like 2095 will go, well, think about it like this. They'll go, my granddad played in this great band and he had this podcast with this bloke from Australia. He said, this is a great album and listen to it.
Look at his instruments with strings on.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I just hope it happens, mate. I just feel so privileged to hear this sort of music, man. So thank you to Jade for sending it through, but most importantly, thank you for making the music that you've made.
Thank you for taking the time, and thank you so much for all the kind words. Well, I don't know what to say. I'm kind of speechless because it's hard getting all this love from Australia. So I definitely need to talk to my band members now and tell them that we got something going on down there. So
yeah, I'll see what we can do. I've long thought about getting into promotion. To be honest, man, you lose a lot of money bringing bands to Australia, as you can imagine, because of the plane flight, the flights, the cost of flights and stuff. It costs a lot of money to come here. I'd love to.
Yeah, actually, I was talking to a band that was in Denmark called Videli. You know them from Australia?
I've heard of them, but I don't know them yet.
Oh, awesome band. A 3-piece band. They told me that it was kind of expensive to travel all the way up here just to play a few gigs. So they put together a longer tour down with Germany and stuff like that to pay for the bills, like they say. So
that's the only way you can do it. You can do it if you're an Australian band going to Europe because you can play about 7 countries in the space of about a week and a half. But in Australia, where else the hell can you go apart from New Zealand? And there's hardly anybody there anyway. So, so where do you go? There's hardly anybody here in Australia except for in Sydney and Melbourne. Like I'm not from Sydney or Melbourne. I'm from Queensland, and I live in amongst the cane fields. You know, like a semi-rural area, in suburbia. But like I live in a house with a regular backyard, but there's not a lot around. If I go into the city, it's still 60 k's away. You know what I mean? Like
It
still costs me.
I love Australia. Every time I see, I would love to go there, but yeah, it's kind of expensive. But maybe we can work something out.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Get down there.
Fingers crossed. So, look, what I'll do from here, if you're comfortable with everything we've spoken about, I certainly am. If you've listened to my podcast series before, what I do, I just post it as it is, basically. And I think people, what they like about mine is, man, it's a bit like Joe Rogan's podcast, if you've heard of him. It's I post it as it is. I don't even have intro music, to be honest with you, mate. I just put it up, and I find that a couple of hundred people listen to it who are real music fans, and I know that because they send me messages about the interviews that I do, man, and they love the bands that I'm interviewing, even if they don't know who they are.
Fantastic.
So, what I might actually, with your permission, I don't do this, but I might make an exception here if you allow it. Do you mind if I play one of your songs on my podcast episode? Like, because I know there's some licensing problems and all that sort of stuff, but is that okay?
Oh, yeah.
Because I think I don't want, what I want to be able to do is, I want to back up what I've been saying with people who won't dive deeper and discover your music with what your music sounds like.
Yeah.
So, you won't get any royalties from it or what have you, but what can I do? I just want to share your music.
Hey, you're using time on our part now. So if we can give you some music to play on your show or do anything with, there you go.
Cool, man. Yeah,
It's,
it'd be great. Yeah,
no
it'd be
problem.
awesome to do it because I really want people to hear how good you guys are that might not dive a bit deeper and investigate it. I want to force them to listen to you. Put it that way.
Oh, excellent. That's the
great.
kind of promo we need.
Indeed, it is. Yeah.
Just shove it down their throats. No, well, you can send me your email, and I will email you a Dropbox link when you can find our music and stuff like that.
Oh, I've already got your CD. So Jade sent it through. Like the
okay.
I've already got Unsound. Yeah, so that's no worries. Yeah, Jade was great. I don't even know how she got my details, to be honest with you. But I get heaps of, because I'm a podcaster. And I used to have a radio show. I get heaps of emails come through, as I say. But Jade, I'm really glad she found me. So she's from Memphis.
Yes.
Memphis Music PR. There you go. She's from the UK, is she?
Yeah, yes, she is. We have used her for releasing the album as a PR agent.
She's really
helping
good.
us.
Yeah, she's really
Yes,
good.
she is.
Yeah.
Yes, she is.
Yeah.
And we just got 8 out of 10 from the Power Play UK magazine review. So
There you go.
so it was also her that came through. So we are very grateful that we chose her, because with the Mighty music we did before, we paid a lot of money and we didn't get half as we did with Jade. So we are very pleased to work with her.
Yeah, and that's a lot of the battle, isn't it? I know. You've been listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast series that syndicates for the A-List Online, and my name is Andrew Mackay-Smith. That interview subject there was a fellow called Henrik Thrane, and he's from a Danish outfit, an excellent outfit called Black Income. Thanks so much for listening.